Welcome back, everyone, to Game 2 between Dylan Bryan and Michael Skoran in the finals of the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Pokemon TCG Regional Championships. I'm Crimz, and with me is Kyle, and we're underway.
And we have a Tyrogue start from Michael. Uh-oh.
Whoa, he's
Tyrogue,
got a lone Tyrogue.
yeah. So if
Tyro Bridge already? Whoa, okay. So that's a dual ball.
so we know
Uh,
Dylan plays Tyrogue himself.
okay, he missed on the dual ball. He goes for it again. Got it heads. Whoa, he got double heads here. This game should be over.
Unless
As quickly
Tyrogue
as
is
it
prized,
started.
you never know.
Well, yeah, but it
Uh,
should be over, is what I'm saying.
and Dylan's taking another look at his deck, so Michael, luck out
Well,
here.
yeah, he absolutely did. He had to here because otherwise Dylan wouldn't slow roll him. He would just find the Tyrogue and say, "Well, that's game. Sorry." Um, Very unfortunate news for Dylan. I think. I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I don't think he's got the Tyrogue in his deck. But he can still get a knockout with a Mewtwo and a double colorless. I
Yeah,
mean, he's got several ways to be able to knock out this Tyrogue. To be honest,
yeah.
heck,
Even
he's got a plus power in play. I mean,
he could even tail wrap, man. He could go
yeah.
for it. So
Uh,
it really just comes down to what does he have? Um, if he got the double colorless, I'm sure he would have just gotten the Mewtwo already, but he doesn't have
mhm.
that either, but he will have a portrait. So if there's a supporter in Michael's hand, he can get a fresh hand. Maybe he'll draw the double colorless off of that. Or a switch in two grass. There are plenty of ways he can still do 30 damage here.
And it's interesting to see how Michael's just sitting there fidgeting, going like, "Well, I got nothing, buddy, except for a punt, which you can. You're more than welcome to make me use, or to be able to use. But it's his fate's in Dylan's hands right now. There's nothing Michael can really do here except for sit here and hope his opponent doesn't have what he needs. Obviously, he's gotten lucky enough to this point already, but he can still top deck a double colorless or even a switch and two grass energies.
Yeah, let me tell you, I've been in this situation a couple times, and it's not fun. You just kind of sit there and wait, and maybe you'll get a turn, maybe you won't. But nothing you can do about it. So if you're Michael, you just kind of accept the fact that, yeah, I play 30 hit point Pokemon,
Another
and I
dual
started
ball.
with one.
Okay, well the dual
And
ball gets him another heads. It's actually not as important right now because we know that he can't get the knockout. Or at least
yeah,
it's not going to affect the knockout.
Dylan did not
Uh,
get any energy. And does Michael actually survive?
well, he finds a Buffalon here, which is very important in this matchup in the later game. But
I see now. He
he's,
just wants to attack with revenge to win, right?
he wants to get fancy. He's like, yeah, well, I mean, I have the Tyrogue, but I just want to go for pro points. Um, so we'll have to see what Dylan's line of attack is here because he's not going to be able to. At least my assumption is that he's not going to be able to get a knockout this turn.
Yeah, there's not a single energy in his hand, which has to be frustrating. There's so many cards in your deck that can knock out a Tyrogue, and of course your own Tyrogue is one of them. It happens to be prized, so your automatic win is prized. Then you have two supporters to try to draw a double colorless energy. You whiff completely. You know, for a deck that's designed to start attacking on the first turn, you can't even knock out a measly Tyrogue. That's gotta be upsetting.
Yeah. So we see a Professor Oak's new theory off of Michael after benching his Thunderous with an energy. Michael's got to be feeling extremely good here. I mean, he's got a new lease on life, gets at least one heads on the dual ball, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Michael's got to be feeling great.
Yeah, if you're Michael, this is perfect. Like, outside of
Two
the
heads
heart
on the dual
attack you
ball.
probably just had, you're feeling really good because Dylan basically did nothing his first turn. And I mean, it just completely shifted the first turn advantage back to Michael. It's almost as if he's going first now because Dylan did absolutely nothing. He didn't attack, he didn't play an energy, he actually wasted a lot of resources, and Michael's going to be able to get a charge here. This is his perfect start.
Yeah. It's also interesting to see that he's got a Regigigas in play, does Dylan. So the Regigigas is actually pretty nice in this matchup. It's ideal opposed to Tornadus, which actually has a lightning weakness. So at least Dylan has a reasonable setup, minus the whole not having energy thing.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get an attack off this turn, I think he's in a ton of trouble. He needs to be
Yeah.
able to put on the pressure right now. If he doesn't, Michael's already got a disaster volt coming. I'm sure he'll be able to knock out either the Celebi or the Smeargle if he has a catcher. And if he gets Eeelektriks into play, he's just going to be that much farther ahead. So this is a big, big, big turn for Dylan. Can he attack, or is he going to have to pass again?
We see him draw plenty of energy, and didn't really get to see much else. He drew a couple other cards, but he's got more than enough energy for the rest of the turns.
He's got a catcher, and he drew Grass and Double Colorless, so he'll be able to take a prize this turn for sure. And he's going to power up that Regigigas, probably target down the Tynamo, and alright, that's exactly what Dylan wanted.
That is very nice. That is, like you mentioned, that is exactly what he wanted. And now his opponent not only is behind on prizes, but he's also behind on the Tynamos.
Right, so now if you're Michael, and it looks like he plays Smeargle too, which is interesting. He plays Smeargle and Cleffa in this deck. So he's more conservative than me. I
forgot he played Cleffa.
Yeah, and so he'll be able to get a portrait this turn too. And if you're Michael, I think you actually just kind of ignore the Regigigas if you can. It's really not that good of an attacker if you just go around it with catcher. He only does a lot of damage when you damage him first. So if you can get a catcher, just knock out Dylan's either Celebi or Smeargle. That'll probably be your best bet this turn.
Yeah, and then all you have to do is face down a measly Bouffalant that deals 90 damage for 2 energy. Now he's only got one Tynamo in play, so he definitely wants to include more Tynamos. He finds his Tynamo, which is on top of his deck.
Yeah, he's super rad to put it back.
And shuffles his deck back in, and at least he's got 2 Tynamos in play now.
See, the one thing I don't like about Michael's current position is there's only room for 2 Tynamos. You want space for 3 Tynamos if you can. Just because you know one of them is going to get catchered and knocked out for the most part. So when you only have 2 Tynamos in play, that really limits your ability to get that ideal situation where you have 2 Eeelektriks in play and you can just start powering stuff up with Dynamotor. Your options are a little limited when you only have 1 Eelektrik in play, which is probably what's going to happen because it's just not enough bench space to keep putting down Dynamos.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, I believe we saw a portrait into an N, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we saw a portrait into an N. See Michael draw a plus power, a catcher, and a couple other cards. I don't have the eyes you've got, so I can only see a couple of these things. And yeah, Michael isn't in the best spot in the world, but he's not in a poor one either. The catcher that he just drew is going to let him take a prize on the Smeargle, I believe.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what he would target down. And yeah, that's the one card he just wanted to get this turn. He would have liked an Eelektrik as well, but the biggest thing he would have wanted was a catcher. And it looks like there's some sort of debate going on with the judges. I'm not sure what's going on here, but he did get free retreat from the Sky Arrow Bridge, and he actually decides to attack right into Regigigas, which that is pretty risky.
Yeah, it is. I don't really know why he's going to do this. I know that he can theoretically knock it. I mean, he will knock it out in 2 turns with the Zekrom now, but I don't know. I can't really agree with this play, to be honest. I would prefer to just take the free prize on the Smeargle when you have the catcher given to you.
Right, Regigigas actually isn't too threatening until you hit him.
Exactly.
And now that he's hit him, it's still got 100 hit points left, which Michael will not be able to power up a Zekrom next turn unless he plays a Shaman, especially now that his Dynamo is getting catchered. So he's going to need a double plus power on his Thundurus in order to knock out this Regigigas. And if he doesn't have that, he's just wasted 2 turns attacking into Regigigas, and it's probably going to end up taking 3 prizes for Dylan, which is not what you want. Whereas you could have just catchered around it and guaranteed yourself a prize every turn.
Yeah, this Gigas is doing work.
Yeah.
It's going to take another prize here. It's going to, most importantly, get rid of 2 Dynamos now. And there's that 4th Dynamo, luckily, for Michael.
Actually, that's just the 3rd one because he's super out of one in, but...
Yeah, you're right. So either way, that is another Dynamo coming down into play. And now he plays the Pokemon catcher. So now we see how much of a waste of a turn that was. Yeah, the Gigas has damage on it. Yeah, it can now get knocked out in one shot by the Zekrom. But now Michael's a couple prizes behind.
Yeah, this is just something... He just kind of did it out of order, I think. He's opening the doors for Regigigas to really knock out anything on his field because it's already got 80 on it. That Raging Hammer attack does 50 plus 10 for each damage counter on him, so it'll actually do 130, which is just enough to knock out Zekrom too. And if Michael is able to get an Eelektrik into play, that's just another target for Regigigas. Even his Thundurus gets knocked out in one hit, so I don't like angering the big guy. That's not a good idea.
That's silly. Okay, let's see here. Michael's going to be able to take a prize right now, ideally. Well, yeah, he will be able to. As long as he hits an energy or an Eelektrik, I guess that's all he needs.
Yeah.
But then his opponent's going to be ahead by one prize, and his opponent's going to be able to knock out the Thundurus pretty easily. And ahead by 2, 3. Yeah, he's going to be really far behind once the Mewtwo War comes into play. And I'm sure that's what Dylan's going to be going for right now.
Yeah, on the plus side, he will be knocking out Dylan's Smeargle, and he will be disrupting Dylan a lot. He portraited for that N once again, and Dylan is down to 4 cards, and that Regigigas is going to be knocked out eventually. So that is just 2 prizes sitting there. It's all going to come down to, will Dylan be forced into attacking with Mewtwo, and if he does, will Michael have the response immediately? I think that's all it's going to come down to this game.
That's correct. So we do see a prize taken here by Michael. He's going to be knocking out the Smeargle. And now it's on Dylan to be able to fortify himself for the following few turns. And we'll have to see what Dylan can actually do about this. He's going to be taking a prize right now, but then I believe from that point on he's going to just be going into a Mewtwo War.
So a little bit of a weird thing. Dylan just promoted Regigigas instead of Celebi, which would have had free retreat. Not sure why he did that, but maybe he just wasn't thinking about it. But yeah, he's well, it looks like Dylan is prepared to go to war. He's benched a second Mewtwo, and he is committed to going with Regigigas and then probably Mewtwo from there.
And that Boufflant is going to be doing nothing all game.
You never know. He might show up every once in a while.
Well, let's hope he doesn't for Dylan's sake. We do see the switch. Kind of a waste of a switch there.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe he had like a Juniper or something in his hand that would give reason, or an N. Yeah, that way he doesn't draw into the switch later. There's more important cards, so there was a reason he promoted that Regigigas.
Smart man. So he attaches the 4th energy to his Regigigas, correct?
Yes, so he will be able to use the Raging Hammer attack this turn.
And that should be a knockout on the Thundurus, I believe?
Yes, 20 more than it needs to.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to see the Thundurus be knocked out in one shot. Dylan's going to be going down to 3 prizes, and now the Regigigas has to be knocked out.
Right. This is a really bad spot for Michael. He still has no Eeelektriks in play. If he can manage to get 2 out the next turn and then Bolt Strike, get a knockout on Regigigas, then he'll be just fine. But that's a lot of stuff to get, especially when you're down to 5 cards after this N. He will have Smeargle, fortunately, but that's still a tall order.
That's correct. We see a Pokemon catcher. He's going to take out the Smeargle. That's what I was about to mention this too. He's going to be going after the Smeargle instead of the Thundurus, even though the Thundurus can obviously take prizes. But the Smeargle is going to help him set up for the late game. So he gets the same kind of result, which is a prize lead of 2 prizes. But he's going to force his opponent into getting a couple of Eeelektriks without the aid of Smeargle. So that's a really nice play.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like that or not.
Even more importantly, he's wasting, or he's saving his Regigigas and getting rid of an unimportant Boufflant.
I don't know. Boufflant was actually a pretty big player right there, so I don't know why I got to keep hating on him like that. But I might prefer attacking into the Thundurus, just because if Michael did stall on getting Eeelektriks this turn, if you took the Thundurus out, he would have no real attacking option, but he still does have an attacking option if you just go for the Smeargle, and it looks like he got both Eeelektriks anyway, so there wasn't really much Dylan could do about it, but looks like either decision wouldn't have mattered, and now Michael's going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I can see what Dylan was trying to go for, trying to limit his opponent's options and trying to make it so that the Regigigas could not get knocked out this turn.
Mm-hmm.
But now Michael got the answers he needed anyways, and as long as he hits a Pokemon catcher, he can even take out this Gigas right now if he really wants to. But
Yeah,
I think he's probably just gonna be focusing down the Boufflant.
it's obviously the bigger threat.
Yeah, right. Well, he hits a Pokemon catcher, so we'll have to see what he decides is the bigger threat.
Yeah, he'll probably go ahead and take the 2 prizes here. The problem is Bouffalant will not come out with Revenge in response. So unless he has an Eviolite, Zekrom is going to hit himself for 40, and then that'll be just enough for Bouffalant to come up and Revenge for, well, the Revenge knockout. So he
Well,
might be taking 2 prizes this game.
well, all I know is Michael's a smarter man than you because he realizes Regigigas is the bigger threat, and he takes the 2 prizes. It's irrelevant that that he got 2 prizes instead of 1. And now Michael's in not the greatest of shapes. Don't get me wrong; he's not out of the woods yet. But the fact that he got rid of the Regigigas puts him right back in here. Obviously, he's got a couple of Electrics, but his opponent has the same amount of prizes, and he is the current active player. So realistically, he should be winning this game.
Actually, I think Michael is in a much better spot than you give him credit for. Dylan this turn, what can he do? He's going to have to Revenge. That's his only option, unless he wants to just attack with Mewtwo. If he goes with Mewtwo, then all it's going to take from Michael is a catcher, knock out Celebi, and then follow it up with a Mewtwo for the win. If he attacks with the Bouffalant, Dylan's going to have to attack next turn with Mewtwo probably. He just doesn't have many attackers left that can stand up to cards like Zekrom and Thundurus. He's got that Bouffalant that's going to get knocked out. He's got Tornadus that's weak to Lightning. The Regigigas, that's knocked out. So really, what does he have left besides
The thing is,
EXs?
yeah, but the thing is, all he has to do is make sure he takes a prize a turn, and he should be all right unless his opponent has a Pokemon catcher and a Mewtwo, and a Mewtwo. But it looks like but it looks like he's going to actually be going for a Mewtwo attacker now, which a little dangerous, yes, but now he's just going to say, hey, look, you want to knock out my Mewtwo with yours, then I can knock you out and take the game. So he forces his opponent to be able to deal with this Mewtwo without a Mewtwo.
Yeah, I actually don't think either player is at an advantage or a disadvantage. It's really just going to come down to, can Michael get the cards he needs to close the game out? He does not have any EXs in play, so Dylan will not be able to win the game next turn unless he decides to bench a Mewtwo for some reason. So I would assume Michael's going for a catcher, and it looks like that's what he will do. He'll get down to 2 prizes, and Dylan will be left with those 2 Mewtwo's in play. So if Michael can knock out one of those Mewtwo's next turn, he will win, and he'll win the whole tournament.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm Dylan here, I'm going for an N. I'm going to try to disrupt my opponent and see if I can take my last 2 prizes unopposed without my opponent being able to really take advantage of his Mewtwo. Not the safest play, but either way, I mean, like I said, the advantage margin by either player would be so minimal that it's not actually going to be that big of a factor. Both players do have a relatively close setup, and either player can absolutely win. It's going to come down to a lot of the draws here, but we are seeing a catcher from Dylan, which is great because he's going to not only take a prize here, but he's going to force his opponent into only having 1 Dynamotor for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I wanted to comment on Michael actually discarded that double colorless instead of a Lightning. I think that was a bit of a mistake because he has no Lightnings left in his discard pile. So if Dylan did something like this, went around the attackers with energy like he's going to do here, that's going to make it a lot tougher for Michael to get his own Mewtwo next turn and get a win. So smart play by Dylan. He'll probably just use Revenge, get a knockout with Bouffalant, and it's going to take a ton of cards for Michael in order to get him in a position to knock out Dylan's Mewtwo and win the game.
Yes, exactly. Now, that was absolutely a mistake. He should have discarded a Lightning Energy instead of the double colorless, which is going to force him to have even more cards in his hand to be able to really pull this game off. But that end was crucial.
Fortunately for Michael, I think we saw a Juniper in his 2 cards. So Dylan definitely not out of the woods yet. He will take this prize of Bouffalant, but if Michael has, well, what he's going to need, plus power, that's a very good card to draw if he does indeed have a Juniper in his hand. So there it is, plus power, Juniper. So he needs a Mewtwo, a double colorless, and a catcher, and he will win this game.
And not only the game, but the match
Yeah.
and the tournament.
So a lot riding on this turn here. Does Michael draw everything he needs, or will Dylan squeak out a win here?
Uh, like I said, Michael needs a lot. I mean, the end was very important. Obviously, he mitigated the end by drawing a Juniper, but even then, the end was important in that he still lowers his opponent's options quite a bit because he doesn't have access to say X cards and then a Juniper to seven more cards. So his opponent's just going to need too many things to be able to pull this game off right now, and I'd be
Well,
surprised if he can actually win this turn.
he's setting aside a bunch of cards, so I think he has two junk arms in his hand, which would open up quite a few options. If he can dual ball, I don't know whether or not he plays Shaman. That could be a big deal. If he got two heads on a dual ball, he could get a Shaman and a Mewtwo, and then that other junk arm would just be for a catcher, and hey, he would win the game. So he actually has a level ball in his hand. That could get a Shaman. It all depends on what he's playing in his deck.
Yeah, that would rely on Shaman quite a bit, but you're right. That would be an option. He's gonna junk arm away a Dynamo, and I can't tell what the other card was, but
I
he's
think this
finding
level
I believe a
ball.
plus power.
Yep, he's
So
just getting the other plus power, so it looks like he's just going to attack with Thunderous and hope that Dylan does not have that extra 2 energy to win, but he
but
does.
there. So yeah, like I mentioned, Michael was in a pretty poor spot, unfortunately for him. But the good news for him is that he gets to go to game three, get to go first in game three, and that's a big advantage going into the final minutes of the game because I mean they've had to have used at least 40 minutes so far.
Yeah, I mean, going first obviously is going to be a big advantage, and you got to just see the first game he dominated. The second game, he had a rough start, but it was still really, really close. So he's got to be feeling confident going into game three, which we'll be going into right now.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys.